Princess Liara looked out from the high balcony of her palace, the stars of her homeworld shining bright above. Her planet, Arvithia, was a place of beauty and power. Towers of crystal and silver rose from the ground, and the air hummed with energy. Everything about her life was planned. Everything was controlled. But Liara felt restless. She wanted something more than the endless ceremonies and strict rules of the court. She had always been curious about other worlds, especially Earth. Humans fascinated her. They were small, fragile, but full of emotion and courage. They had something. The Arvethians rarely showed spontaneity. One evening, Liara made a bold decision. She would travel to Earth not as a princess but in secret, disguised as a human. Her mother, the alien queen, would never allow it. Liara stepped into the sleek portal chamber. Light shimmered around her as the teleportation sequence began. In a blink, she stood on a green, living world. Earth was even more vibrant than she imagined. The smell of trees, the sound of running water, and the warmth of the sun made her feel alive. She could hardly resist smiling. Her disguise was perfect. Humans would not notice anything strange. She wore simple clothes and carried no alien technology. She blended easily among the people, though her eyes still held a strange glow that no one could quite place. Liara wandered through a small town near a research base. She watched humans laugh, work, and care for one another. They seemed so different from her people. Then she saw him, Ethan. He was tall, with dark hair and bright eyes that reflected curiosity. He was studying a small machine, tinkering with it carefully. Liara felt a strange pull toward him. There was something in his focus, his determination, that reminded her of what she wanted most: freedom and understanding. Ethan looked up as Liara approached. He smiled politely, not realizing how unusual she was. "Hi," Liara said, trying to sound casual. "Do you need help with that?" Ethan laughed softly. "Maybe. I'm trying to fix a drone, but it keeps shutting down." He handed her a small device. "Can you take a look?" Liara's hands hovered over the machine. She understood technology differently from humans, faster and more precise. She worked silently, adjusting wires and recalibrating sensors. Within moments, the drone hummed to life. Ethan's eyes widened. "That's amazing. How did you—" Liara smiled. "Just lucky, I guess." She handed back the drone. "Sometimes you need a fresh perspective." Ethan laughed. "Well, I'm glad you were here. I'm Ethan, by the way." "Liara," she said softly. They spent the rest of the day together. Ethan showed her the human world, explaining his work and his dreams. Liara listened, fascinated. Humans might be fragile, but they were resilient. They faced challenges without fear and celebrated small victories with joy. Liara knew she had to be careful. She could not reveal who she really was. If the queen found out, she would be in serious trouble. Yet the more time she spent with Ethan, the harder it became to leave. His humor, his kindness, and his curiosity drew her in. She had never met anyone like him. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Liara felt a mix of excitement and fear. She wanted to stay, but she also needed to return to Arvethia before the queen noticed her absence. Ethan looked at her. "You'll come back tomorrow, right?" Liara hesitated. I think so." She wanted to tell him the truth, but the words caught in her throat. That night, Liara returned to her temporary lodging. She removed her disguise and looked at her reflection. Her alien features glowed softly in the mirror. She felt a strange mix of longing and guilt. Could she truly balance these two worlds? Could she ever tell Ethan who she really was? Meanwhile, back on Arvithia, the queen sensed something unusual. A faint energy ripple touched her mind. Liara's presence on another planet. She frowned, her sharp eyes narrowing. She could not yet know the truth, but instinct warned her that her daughter was stepping into dangerous territory. The next morning, Liara returned to the research base. Ethan greeted her with a bright smile. They laughed, shared stories, and explored small inventions together. Liara felt alive in ways she had never known. As they walked near a river, Ethan suddenly stopped. "Liara, why do you seem different from everyone else I've met?" he asked, curiosity bright in his eyes. Liara's heart skipped. She knew she would have to be careful with her answers. "Maybe it's just the way I see things," she said. Ethan nodded but didn't press further. He was too kind to push someone away for being mysterious. By the end of the day, Liara had learned something new about humans. They could accept others even when they didn't fully understand them. And that gave her hope. She wanted to share more of her world with Ethan, but she also knew that revealing too much could put them both at risk. That night, Liara sent a small message to Ethan. A human note, carefully written, thanking him for his time and promising to meet again. She hid her alien origin behind simple words, but the feeling in her message was genuine. High above, the stars of Arvethia twinkled as if watching. Liara felt the pull of two worlds. One was her duty, her family, her people. The other was freedom, curiosity, and perhaps love. She did not yet know what the future held, but a small brave part of her hoped that one day she could have both. Little did she know her secret encounter with Ethan would soon change everything. Her life, her family, and even the fate of her world. Liara woke early, sunlight streaming, through the small window of her temporary Earth lodging. The memory of yesterday still made her smile. Ethan's laughter, the way he had focused on his inventions, and the gentle kindness in his eyes lingered in her mind. She knew she had to be careful. Her time on Earth was limited, and if her mother discovered her absence, there would be consequences she could not escape. Yet the pull toward Ethan was stronger than any fear. When Liara arrived at the research base, Ethan was already waiting. He held a small mechanical device in his hands, frowning at it. "I've been trying to fix this all night," he said, frustration clear in his voice. "It won't respond the way I want." Liara stepped closer, her fingers brushing the device. She studied the wires and circuits, her mind quickly understanding the mechanism. In moments, the device sparked to life, responding perfectly to Ethan's commands. Ethan's eyes widened with surprise. "You did it. How?" Liara smiled softly. "Sometimes all it needs is a different way of thinking." The bond between them grew stronger each day. They talked about their worlds, their dreams, and fears. Ethan shared stories of Earth's beauty, the forests, oceans, and mountains. He explained human culture, art, and family, and Liara listened with fascination. She had never known a world so full of emotion and creativity, but she also realized that being with Ethan came with danger. Arvethians were strict about their bloodline and royal duty. A human relationship was forbidden. If her mother learned the truth, it could bring shame and punishment. Despite the risk, Liara could not stop thinking about Ethan. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan and Liara sat on a hill overlooking the town. The sky was painted with orange and purple light. "Liara," Ethan said, his voice quiet, "I feel like I've known you forever even though we just met. You're different from anyone I've ever met." Liara felt her heart quicken. She wanted to tell him everything, her real identity, her world, but she could not. "I feel the same," she said softly. "There's something about you, too. You make everything seem possible." Ethan smiled and reached out, taking her hand gently. Liara felt a spark of warmth at his touch. They stayed there in silence, the human world stretching out below them, peaceful and full of life. But even as she enjoyed this moment, Liara's mind was troubled. She knew her mother's spies were always watching. Arvethians had ways to sense strange energy, and her prolonged absence might trigger suspicion. She needed to be careful or the queen would find out everything. Liara tried to keep her feelings hidden, but one morning she realized something that made her heart race. She was pregnant. Her body reacted to the bond she shared with Ethan, and a tiny life was beginning inside her. At first, fear overtook her. A child with a human father was unheard of among her people. It could bring scandal, danger, even war. Yet as she thought about the child, a sense of hope grew. This baby could be a bridge between Earth and Arvithia. It could show that love and understanding were stronger than fear and prejudice. But telling Ethan and protecting herself from the Queen's wrath seemed impossible. Meanwhile, back on Arvithia, the Queen's senses tingled. She did not yet know the truth, but she felt a strange disturbance, an energy she could not ignore. Her sharp mind immediately considered the possibilities. Was Liara on another world? Was she with someone dangerous? The Queen summoned her most trusted envoy, a tall and loyal Arvithian named Vera. "Find out what my daughter is doing," the Queen commanded. "Do not fail me." Vera bowed and left immediately. Liara had no idea her secret was being investigated. Every smile and laugh she shared with Ethan could now carry enormous risk. As the days passed, Liara and Ethan grew closer. They shared meals, explored forests, and worked on small projects together. Ethan admired her intelligence, creativity, and the strange wisdom in her eyes. He felt a connection that he could not explain. One afternoon, while walking near a sparkling river, Ethan looked at Liara seriously. "Do you ever feel like you're hiding something from me?" he asked. Liara's the TR. The alien queen sat upon her throne, her long silver robes flowing around her like liquid light. Her palace towered above the capital city of Arvithia, every surface shimmering with alien energy. Her sharp eyes glowed faintly, sensing disturbances she could not ignore. Something was wrong. Her daughter, Princess Liara, had been away from the palace for longer than usual. The Queen summoned Vera, her most trusted envoy, to report. "What have you found about my daughter's travels?" she demanded, her voice sharp as crystal. Vera bowed deeply. "Your Highness, Liara has been seen on another planet, Earth, and she has formed a close bond with a human." The Queen froze. Her mind could not process the words immediately. A human? Her daughter? She had warned Liara against interacting with other species, especially humans. They were fragile, unpredictable, and most importantly, completely unsuitable for royal blood. "What do you mean, a bond?" she asked slowly, her claws tightening around the armrest of her throne. Vera's voice was careful. They are close, more than friends. I believe she may be expecting a child." The Queen's mind raced. Shock turned into fury. "Impossible," she hissed. "My daughter, carrying the child of a human? This is an abomination. She will bring shame to our bloodline and risk everything we have built." Without another word, she rose and moved to the communication console, her fingers dancing across alien symbols. She opened a secure channel to Earth, hoping to gather more information. Through the energy waves, she glimpsed Liara and Ethan walking near a river, laughing and sharing stories. And she saw the glow around Liara, an unmistakable sign of pregnancy. The Queen's heart pounded with anger and disbelief. She had always known Liara was curious about other worlds, but this was beyond recklessness. She thought of the political implications. Other alien houses would use this scandal against her, and the Royal Council might question her authority. Meanwhile, Liara felt strange that day, a new sensation in her body that she had not yet fully understood. She attributed it to excitement, unaware that her mother was already aware of the pregnancy. She and Ethan had planned to meet by the river, unaware of the storm approaching. Ethan noticed her hesitation. "Liara, are you okay?" he asked gently. Liara smiled, hiding her worry. "I'm fine. Just thinking." Ethan reached for her hand and she felt a wave of warmth. She wanted to tell him everything, about her identity, her world, the child, but the words caught in her throat. She knew it was dangerous. High above Arvithia, the Queen's advisors gathered, murmuring among themselves. "Your Highness," one of them said cautiously, "what should we do about Liara? She has broken protocol. The Queen's eyes blazed. Protocol is nothing compared to the threat she represents. She has aligned herself with a human. She is carrying their child. This cannot continue. Vera bowed again. Shall I bring her back immediately? The Queen shook her head. Not yet. I want to see her. I want her to understand the consequences of her actions. Meanwhile, Liara and Ethan continued to enjoy their time together, unaware that the Queen's attention was focused on them. They explored small villages, helping repair machines and learning from each other. Ethan was fascinated by her knowledge and her strange way of seeing the world. Liara felt a deep warmth in her heart, a sense of belonging she had never felt before. But danger was near. The Queen's envoy, using advanced tracking technology, approached Earth secretly. They could sense Liara's energy, even through space. Liara felt a strange tingle but could not identify it. She assumed it was excitement or fatigue from her adventures. Later that evening, Liara returned to her lodging, feeling the pull of her mother's gaze across the stars. She could sense tension in the universe, an invisible force pressing down on her. She sat alone, the moonlight reflecting on her pale hands. She whispered softly, I hope I can protect this child. I hope I can protect us. Back on Arvithia, the Queen prepared for a confrontation. She would speak to her daughter directly, face to face. No more spying, no more secrets. The very idea of Liara's child had shaken her to the core. She saw the potential disaster. Alliances breaking, bloodlines diluted, and her authority challenged. The next day, a sudden portal opened near Liara's lodging. Light shimmered violently as the Queen herself stepped through. Liara turned, her eyes widening in shock. She had never expected her mother to appear in person, not now, not here. Liara! The Queen's voice boomed, full of anger and disbelief. Explain this outrage. Liara's heart pounded. She stood, trembling slightly, but tried to keep her composure. Mother, You have formed a bond with a human, Liara. And worse, you are carrying their child, the Queen shouted. Her glowing eyes burned with fury. Do you have any idea what you've done? The shame you bring to our house, the danger. Liara swallowed hard. Mother, I love him and this child. This child is not a mistake. It is a bridge between our worlds. We can learn from each other. We can... Silence! The Queen roared. You dare speak of bridges and unity when you have betrayed your bloodline? You have brought chaos to our family. Ethan stepped forward cautiously. Your Highness. The Queen's glare turned toward him. And you, a human, you have no right to stand here. You cannot interfere with Arvethia's affairs. Liara placed herself in front of Ethan. Mother, please, he is not a threat. He only cares for me and our child. The Queen's mind raced. Anger, fear, and disbelief battled inside her. She could see the child growing within Liara, feel its potential, and understand that it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. But the thought of accepting it, of accepting a human, was almost impossible. Finally, the Queen took a deep breath. Her fury was still there, but beneath it was a hint of something else. Curiosity. What if Liara was right? What if this child truly could change the future? But for now, her voice was cold and hard. You will come with me, both of you. There will be consequences, and you will answer for your actions. You leave Earth immediately. Liara nodded, her heart heavy. She could not fight her mother directly. Not yet. But she also knew that the journey was only beginning. The secret of her child would not remain hidden forever, and the Queen's shock was only the first challenge. As the portal closed behind them, Liara held Ethan's hand tightly. She whispered, We will face this together. And for the first time, the Queen realized that this child, and the bond between Liara and the human, could not be ignored. Ethan stepped onto the gleaming floor of the Queen's palace, his heart pounding. The walls shimmered with alien energy, and strange symbols moved across the floors and ceilings. He had never seen anything like this in his life. Beside him, Liara held his hand tightly, her own expression a mixture of hope and worry. "You must prove yourself worthy." The queen's voice echoed through the vast hall. She stood on her throne, her eyes glowing with power. "If you wish to remain with Liara, you must complete 3 trials. Fail, and you leave this palace. And this planet, forever." Ethan swallowed. I understand, Your Highness." The first trial tested intelligence. The queen placed a small device in Ethan's hands. Strange lights and moving symbols covered its surface. "This is a puzzle. Solve it before the sun sets, or your attempt is over." Ethan examined the device carefully. He studied the patterns, the flow of energy, and the timing of the symbols. Using logic and creativity, he worked steadily, ignoring the intimidating presence of the queen. Slowly, the symbols aligned, and the device hummed with life. A soft chime echoed through the hall. The queen's eyes narrowed, but she did not speak. She was impressed, reluctantly. Liara smiled faintly, proud of Ethan's focus. The second trial tested courage. The queen waved her hand, and the floor beneath Ethan vanished. He found himself standing on a platform high above a glowing pit. Strange creatures with translucent bodies and sharp claws circled below. "You must cross," the queen's voice boomed. "Prove your bravery. Fear is weakness." Ethan's knees shook, but he remembered Liara's hand in his. He took a deep breath, stepped forward, and began to cross the narrow bridge. The creatures lunged at him, but he dodged and jumped with careful timing. His heart raced, but he never gave in to fear. At the end of the bridge, he landed safely. Liara let out a quiet cheer, but the queen's expression remained stern. "Interesting," she said. "You show bravery, but the final trial is the most difficult. Only one who understands loyalty and love will succeed." The third trial was the test of loyalty. Ethan was taken to a chamber filled with illusions. He saw Liara, appearing hurt and frightened, calling for help. Shadows of danger surrounded her, and voices whispered that she no longer needed him. "Abandon her," the illusions urged. "She is beyond your reach. Leave her and save yourself." Ethan's heart ached. He closed his eyes and thought of Liara's kindness, her laughter, and the way she looked at him with trust. "No," he whispered. "I will not leave her." Suddenly, the illusion shifted. The queen appeared within the chamber, her gaze piercing. "True loyalty is shown," she said quietly. "You care for her not for gain, not for reward, but because it is your choice. That is rare among your kind." Liara stepped forward, her eyes shining. "Mother, he is brave, loyal, and kind. He loves me and our child. Please, see that he is worthy." The queen studied Ethan carefully. His determination, courage, and respect for her daughter had proven something important. He was not Jew. Weeks passed since Ethan had completed the trials. Liara's pregnancy began to show, and a gentle glow surrounded her as the child inside her grew. The palace buzzed with whispers. Some Arvethians were still wary, while others were curious. For the first time, many could see that this child was special, not just a symbol of rebellion, but of something far greater, a possible bridge between Earth and Arvethia. The queen observed quietly from her throne. Her anger had not fully disappeared, but she was beginning to understand the child's potential. Liara's courage, Ethan's loyalty, and the bond they shared had already shown her that love could exist beyond duty and tradition. She could feel the energy of the unborn child, strong, radiant, and unlike anything she had ever witnessed. Liara and Ethan spent their days preparing for the child's arrival. Using a mix of alien technology and human ingenuity, they designed a nursery that could support both human and Arvethian needs. The palace staff watched in amazement as Ethan learned quickly, adapting to customs he did not fully understand while earning their respect. One evening, Liara and Ethan walked through the palace gardens. The alien flora shimmered under the twin moons, and the soft hum of energy from the palace made the air feel alive. Do you think the Queen will ever truly accept this? Ethan asked quietly. Liara looked at her mother, seated at the palace balcony, observing them. She's starting, too, she said. It will take time. But she can see that our child could bring something new, something good, to both worlds. Ethan nodded. I want to help. I want to be part of this for the baby and for you. Liara smiled softly. And you will be. We'll face this together. Our child will know love from both of us, and from our worlds. Meanwhile, the Queen called a meeting with her advisors. The child must be considered carefully, she said. We cannot ignore the impact on our alliances and our power. But perhaps this child is not only a challenge, perhaps it is an opportunity. The advisors exchanged surprised looks. The Queen's shift in tone was subtle but important. Slowly, she began to see that Liara's child could unify Arvethians and humans in ways she had never imagined. As the pregnancy progressed, Liara felt the first strong movements of her child. She laughed softly as Ethan held her hand, marveling at the life growing inside her. It's amazing, he said. I can feel it too. Liara rested her head against his shoulder. Yes, it is. And it's ours. Our child will be a symbol of hope, not fear. The Queen watched this scene from a distance. She could not deny the happiness and care she saw between them. Slowly, her anger began to soften. She realized that the child was already teaching her something important, that family and courage could exist beyond tradition, and that unity could grow even from the most unexpected places. However, not all Arvethians were ready to accept this. Some rival houses began plotting, hoping to exploit the scandal to challenge the Queen's authority. Liara and Ethan could feel tension in the palace corridors. It became clear that the child's birth could become a moment of political significance, not just a personal joy. One evening, a minor incident occurred. A small group of rival agents attempted to breach the nursery to spy on the preparations. Ethan and Liara acted quickly, using a combination of human logic and Arvethian technology to protect the area. The Queen, observing through a security interface, saw Ethan's bravery and ingenuity once more. She felt a grudging respect growing stronger. This child, the Queen murmured to herself, may indeed be more than just a child. Perhaps it will be the future of Arvethia. Finally, the day arrived when Liara went into labor. The palace was tense. Guards were on alert, and the Queen herself remained close by, ready to intervene if needed. Ethan held Liara's hand through, every moment supporting her with calm words and gentle encouragement. Hours later, Liara gave birth to a healthy baby. The child's skin glowed softly, a perfect blend of human warmth and Arvethian light. Liara and Ethan held the baby together, marveling at the tiny being that represented the union of two worlds. The Queen stepped forward, her expression unreadable at first. She reached out slowly and touched the child's small hand. A soft glow filled the room, and she felt something she had never experienced before: awe. The child was unique, powerful, and yet innocent, a living symbol of hope and unity. Perhaps this child is what we need, the Queen said softly. A bridge between worlds, not a threat. The palace erupted in whispers, but the energy surrounding the child seemed to calm the tension. Even the skeptical advisors and guards could sense the significance of this new life. Liara smiled at her mother. See? Love can change even the hardest heart. The Queen nodded slowly. She realized that the child's birth was not just the end of a secret, but the beginning of a new era. Humans and Arvethians could learn from each other, share knowledge, and perhaps even trust one another. Ethan looked at the Queen respectfully. Thank you for allowing us to stay, he said. We promise to honor both our worlds. The Queen's eyes softened. I will watch over you all, but remember, this child carries a responsibility. It is a symbol, not just for us, but for the galaxy. Treat it well. Liara hugged her mother tightly, feeling the first real sense of acceptance. Ethan held their child close, marveling at the tiny fingers and the soft glow that marked it as extraordinary. That night, Liara, Ethan, and the Queen stood together on the palace balcony. The twin moons reflected on the garden below, and the city of Arvithia glowed softly. For the first time, hope filled the palace, not just for the child, but for a future where humans and Arvithians could walk together as allies, friends, and perhaps even family. Liara whispered to Ethan, "We did it. We made it this far." Ethan kissed her forehead gently. "And we'll keep going, together." The Queen watched them, silent but thoughtful. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy. Rival houses, distant planets, and unforeseen dangers still lay ahead. But with this child, with these parents, she could see a future that was brighter, stronger, and united. And for the first time, the Queen allowed herself a small smile. Years passed, and the child of Liara and Ethan grew quickly. The baby, named Arian, was unlike any other being in the galaxy. He had the warmth and curiosity of a human and the strength and light of an Arvithian. His tiny fingers could manipulate alien technology with ease, and his bright eyes seemed to hold the wisdom of both worlds. The Queen watched Arian closely, no longer with fear but with cautious pride. He represented more than a child. He was a promise of unity between Earth and Arvethia. Rival houses still whispered in the halls, but Arian's presence reminded everyone that the impossible could become possible. Liara and Ethan spent their days teaching Arian about both worlds. Liara showed him the wonders of Arvithia, the floating cities, the energy streams, the language of the stars. Ethan shared stories of Earth, the oceans, the mountains, human art, and simple joys of life. Arian soaked in both worlds, learning to walk and speak with a confidence that surprised even his parents. One morning, while Arian played in the palace gardens, he paused and looked up at the sky. "Mother, father," he said, pointing at the twin moons. "I want to see other worlds too. I want to know what is out there." Liara smiled, kneeling beside him. "You will, Arian. One day you will travel beyond Arvithia and Earth. You will see the stars and understand them, but for now, you must learn to be strong and wise." Ethan placed a hand on Arian's shoulder. "And remember, wherever you go, you carry both our worlds inside you. That is your strength." The Queen observed this interaction silently. She had learned much in these years. Leadership was not only about power, it was about understanding, patience, and courage. Arian embodied all these qualities already. Slowly, the Queen's pride grew. She realized that this child could unite factions, calm rival houses, and even bring Earth and Arvethia together in friendship. Despite peace in the palace, challenges still arose. Neighboring planets were wary of Arian's abilities, and of humans and Arvethians working together. Some feared the child's potential and sought to test his strength. One day, a distant alien fleet approached Arvethia. Their warships hovered above the planet, signals of aggression flashing across the sky. The palace council panicked, but Liara, Ethan, and the Queen remained calm. Ethan turned to the Queen. "We have trained Arian to understand strategy and defense. He may be young, but his mind and instincts are already advanced. Perhaps he can help." The Queen nodded. "It is time for him to learn the responsibility of his legacy. He is our child, yes, but he is also the future." Arian watched the fleet from the balcony, his small hands clenched in determination. "I want to protect our worlds," he said firmly. "I will do everything I can." Liara and Ethan exchanged proud glances. Their child, born from love across worlds, had grown into someone remarkable. The Queen allowed Arian to stand with them in the command chamber, where advanced monitors displayed the alien fleet. Using a combination of Arvethian technology and human tactics, Arian suggested a plan to communicate with the fleet first instead of attacking. The aliens responded to his attempt at diplomacy, cautiously agreeing to meet. Arian's calm reasoning and mixed heritage allowed the two sides to understand each other in ways that no adult could. The standoff ended peacefully. The fleet withdrew, impressed by Ariane's wisdom and courage. The palace Eruptois,